Welcome to the world of science fiction Neon's Alien. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and tap the notification bell so you never miss a new story from Neon's Alien universe. The slave market on Velkar Station was loud, dirty, and full of cruel eyes. Merchants shouted prices. Buyers argued. Creatures from many planets stood in cages, some angry, some crying, some silent. Everyone wanted something useful. Fighters, workers, servants. But in the far back corner of the market, behind a rusted curtain, was a small cage no one visited. Inside it sat a girl. Her body was thin and weak. Her skin was pale silver, cracked like old stone. Her white hair hung like a curtain over her face. She didn't speak. She didn't move. A tag on the bars said only one word: defective. She had no name, no voice, no value. The other slaves avoided her. The guards mocked her. Some threw scraps of food that she didn't even touch. Most thought she was broken, dead inside, forgotten. That morning, a human named Michael Grant walked through the market. He was not a soldier, not a bounty hunter, not a rich trader. Just a simple mechanic with a small ship and a quiet life. He hated places like this, but he needed a helper, someone to fix wires, clean the ship, maybe cook. He had little money, so this was the only place he could afford to look. He walked past the yelling merchants, past the angry beasts, past the cages with fighters showing off their strength. Then, something strange happened. He stopped. He didn't know why. But something pulled his eyes toward that quiet corner. And there she was, sitting like a ghost in the metal cage. Still, silent. Forgotten. Michael walked closer. The merchant near her rolled his eyes. Not that one, she's useless, can't speak, can't move, been there 3 months, won't last another week. Michael didn't answer. He knelt near the bars, looked at her face. She didn't look up, but her fingers moved. Just barely. Slow curl, a twitch. Michael stared. "I'll take her," he said. The merchant laughed. "Are you serious? She's not even worth feeding. I'll give her for 1 coin, just to get her out of my space." Michael dropped a coin on the table. The merchant opened the cage, dragging the girl out roughly by the arm. Michael stopped him. "Easy." The girl stumbled forward. Her knees gave out. Michael caught her. Her skin was cold. Her breathing, faint but steady. He pulled off his jacket and wrapped it around her small frame. "What's her name?" he asked. "No idea," the merchant said. "She's never spoken. Like I said, defective." Michael looked down at her. "No," he said quietly. "Not defective. Just forgotten." He carried her through the market. Some laughed, some whispered, some looked with pity. But Michael ignored them all. He brought her back to his ship, the Starlight Raven, docked at the outer bay. It was small, old, and full of tools, but it was home. He laid her gently on a bunk in the med bay. She didn't speak, but she didn't resist either. He cleaned her wounds, gave her warm broth, washed the dirt from her hands, and when he touched her forehead to check for fever, her lips moved for the first time, a whisper, too soft to hear. Michael leaned in. "What did you say?" Her eyes opened slowly. Silver, glowing faintly. She whispered again. "Cold." Michael's heart ached. He turned on the heat lamp beside her bed. "You're safe now," he said. "Rest." She closed her eyes. For the first time in weeks, she slept. Later that night, Michael sat at the edge of the control room, staring at the stars. He didn't know why he had bought her. She couldn't work. She couldn't speak properly, and yet, something in her eyes refused to die. He thought of a name, something soft, something kind. Aya, yes. She needed a name, because names meant someone mattered, and Michael had decided that she did. In the dark of the ship, Aya slept under the soft blanket. Her body still weak, her past still broken. But in her dreams, For the first time, there was no cage, only stars. The hum of the ship's engine was soft, like a heartbeat. Aya lay still on the bunk, her silver skin slightly warmer now under the heat lamp. Her breathing was slow, but steady. For the first time in her life, she was not inside a cage, no chains, no shouting guards, just silence and warmth. Michael sat nearby on a metal crate, watching over her. His ship, the Starlight Raven, was small and messy, tools on every table, wires sticking out of panels, but to him, it was the safest place in the galaxy. He placed a steaming bowl of soup on the side tray. "I don't know if you like this," he said gently, "but it's all I've got." Aya didn't move, but her fingers twitched. Just a little. Michael sat back, sighing. "I'll call you Aya, if that's okay. It means light." He waited. No answer. Still, he smiled. "You look like someone who needs a little light." Hours passed. Michael worked on the engine room, trying not to think too much, but his thoughts kept drifting back to her. Why had he brought her here? He'd seen thousands of slaves in cages. Fighters, workers, warriors, all strong, all useful. But Aya had looked like a ghost. And yet, her eyes weren't empty. They were just quiet, like a voice that hadn't been heard in years. That night, the ship drifted silently above a quiet planet. No cities, no people, just rest. Michael returned to the medbay to check on her. To his surprise, the soup bowl was empty, his eyebrows raised. "Well, that's a start." He looked at her. She was still resting, but her color was better. Her hands, though still thin, were curled calmly on her chest. Michael reached for a blanket and gently pulled it over her. As he turned to leave, he heard something. A hum. Soft. Delicate. Like music. He turned back. Aya's lips moved slightly. Just a quiet, broken sound. A tone with no words but full of meaning. Michael sat down slowly. He didn't speak. He just listened. It lasted 10 seconds. Then she went quiet again. But he smiled. "Good night, Aya," he whispered. The next morning, Michael made simple food and left a tray by her bed again. A glass of clean water, some bread, a boiled egg. He stepped back, but this time, Aya sat up. Slowly, carefully. She picked up the bread. Her hands shook. She dropped it. Michael didn't move. She tried again. This time, she held it. She took a small bite, chewed, swallowed. Then, for the first time, she looked directly at him. Michael's heart skipped. "Good," he said softly. "That's good." Aya opened her mouth. Her voice was cracked and dry. But she said one word. "Warm." Michael blinked. "You feel warm?" She nodded once. He smiled. "Good. That means your body's healing." Aya tilted her head, like she didn't understand the words, but she understood the tone. She gave the smallest smile. Over the next few days, she began to move more. She sat up on her own. She drank water without help. She started walking, holding onto the wall for support. Michael gave her a soft shirt and loose pants. At first, she didn't know how to wear them, but he didn't laugh. He helped her. He showed her how to open the door with a button. He showed her where the stars were from the window. He showed her how to speak small words. And every night, she hummed the soft tone before sleeping, like a song only she remembered. 1. Evening, while Michael was fixing the waterline in the kitchen, he heard quiet footsteps. He turned. Aya was standing there, barefoot, her silver toes just barely touching the floor. Her hair was brushed now. Her arms still thin but no longer shaking. She pointed at the water pipe. It was leaking. Michael laughed. "Yeah, I know. Haven't had time to fix it." Aya stepped forward, touched the broken panel, and the leak stopped. The pipe sealed itself. Glowing for a second under her fingers, Michael froze. How? Aya looked at him, then pointed at herself, then said, Not broken. Michael stared, then smiled, wide and full of pride. No, you're not broken, Aya. He walked toward her. You're a miracle. And for the first time in her life, she believed it. The ship drifted quietly through deep space. Inside the Starlight Raven, soft yellow lights glowed in the hallway, and the air carried the faint scent of fresh bread. Aya stood by the window, her silver fingers pressed gently against the glass. She watched the stars wide-eyed like they were whispering ancient songs only she could hear. Behind her, Michael worked under the floor panels, fixing an old circuit line. Sparks flew. He grumbled as the wrench slipped. Stupid wire. Just stay where I put you. Aya turned to look. She didn't speak, but she tilted her head with curiosity. Michael noticed and smiled. Hey, you want to help? Aya blinked. He pointed at the open panel. See that blue wire? Just hold it still while I reconnect this end. She walked over, slowly, and crouched beside him. Her movement was soft, cautious, like a bird still learning to trust its wings. She reached toward the wire, but before she could grab it, the metal glowed under her touch. Michael paused. Wait. Don't move. The wire pulsed with blue light, then turned gold, then stopped sparking altogether. Michael tested the circuit. The ship lights flickered once, then steadied. He stood up. That's impossible. Aya looked at her hand, confused. Michael pulled a small scanner from his belt and waved it near her palm. The screen buzzed. Energy surge detected. Unknown. Organic tech signature. Michael's eyes widened. You didn't fix the wire. You recharged it. Aya shook her head. I don't know how. Michael sat down, thinking fast. You touched it. It reacted to you. That's not normal, Aya. That's something big. She looked afraid. Wrong? No, he said quickly. Not wrong, just rare. He stood and paced. You're not just sensitive to machines. You're connected to them, like your body speaks their language. Aya sat quietly, her hands in her lap. Not useless, she whispered. Michael stopped. Never were. Over the next few days, he ran small tests, simple ones. A broken coffee maker. She touched it. It worked, a shorted-out light panel. She passed her hand over it. It blinked to life. A dead battery. She held it for 30 seconds. It hummed back to charge. But the most amazing test came later. One evening, Michael sat at the navigation desk, trying to plot a route through a dangerous asteroid field. The computer kept freezing. The system was too old. Aya walked in and stood silently behind him. He sighed. It's no use. I'll have to go around. Costs 3 days. Aya placed her hand gently on the nav console. The screen blinked. Then suddenly, maps, paths, and autocourse data filled the display. The ship plotted a perfect route through the field in under 10 seconds. Michael stared at her. Are you doing this? She nodded, slowly. I don't know how, she said, but when I touch machines, I feel what they want. Michael sat back. You're not just a tech user. You're something else. Aya looked down. They said I was broken, defective. He reached over and touched her shoulder. No, you were too special. And they didn't know how to see it. She blinked back tears, but this time they didn't fall. I want to learn, she said. Michael smiled. Then we'll learn together. That night, Michael reviewed his ship logs, and he noticed something strange. A background scan had triggered. When Aya touched the nav panel, it had identified a hidden biosignal in her body. Classification: bioconduit. Status: unknown experiment. Origin: Royal Science Guild Archive. Status: discarded subject. 7. Michael's hands shook slightly. She wasn't just special. She had been created, engineered, and then thrown away. He looked down the hallway toward her room. "Who did this to you?" he whispered. Meanwhile, Aya sat in her bed, holding a small glowing wire like a toy. It danced gently in her hand, spinning slowly in the air. She smiled. For the first time in her life, she didn't feel afraid of herself. She felt like a piece of the universe that finally fit somewhere. But outside, in the black of space, a long-range scanner clicked alive. A red light blinked. Signal detected. Bioconduit signature. Confirmed. Far away, in a royal lab orbiting a dead moon, alarms began to ring, and cold eyes stared at the screen. She's alive. Somewhere deep in the galaxy, far from suns or stars, a dark lab floated in silence. It had no name, only numbers. Inside, glowing tubes lined the walls, each filled with strange, failed life forms. And in the center of the cold control room, a single red light blinked. A voice spoke from the shadows. "Subject 7 has been found." Another voice replied. "The bioconduit?" "Yes, active. Power readings are rising. She is with a human." A pause. Then one final order. "Retrieve her. Kill the human." On the Starlight Raven, Michael worked at the controls. He didn't sleep much anymore. He kept thinking about the report. Aya wasn't just gifted. She was made, used, abandoned. But none of that changed how he saw her now. He heard soft footsteps behind him. "Couldn't sleep?" he asked without turning. Aya stood by the door, her hands together. "Stars were loud tonight." He smiled, softly. "Yeah, they tend to get noisy before trouble shows up." She tilted her head. "Trouble?" Before he could answer, a loud beep echoed across the control room. The ship's radar lit red, unmarked vessel approaching. High speed. Michael's body tensed. "That's not a cargo ship." He pressed commands to scan it. No ID, no signal, just black metal and speed. He stood fast. "Aya, go to the back room, now." She didn't move. "Who are they?" Michael looked at her seriously. "I think they came for you." In space, the enemy ship began to deploy. Small drones shot forward, swarming like insects. Each one was equipped with stun cannons, disruptors, and energy nets. Inside the Raven, Michael activated defense mode, but his ship was old, too old. The first blast hit the hull, hard. Lights flickered. He stumbled and pulled Aya behind him. "Stay close to me." She grabbed his arm. "Let me help." Michael shook his head. "No. If they get you, they'll never stop. You're too important." "But so are you," she whispered. Another blast rocked the ship. Michael rushed to the cargo bay and opened a small panel. Inside was an escape pod. He turned to her. "Aya, listen, you take this. Go to the planet below. Hide. I'll lead them away." She stared at him in shock. "You would stay and fight alone?" He nodded. "I'd rather die free than let them cage you again." Aya's hands trembled. Her eyes burned with emotion. Then something changed. She stepped forward, eyes glowing softly. "No," she said. "This is my fight too." The ship shook again. Drones sliced through the hull. Metal tore. Sparks flew. Michael picked up a blaster. But Aya raised her hands. As the drones entered the hallway ready to strike, Aya walked forward. The air changed. Her skin glowed like a moonstone. Her hair lifted gently in the energy around her. And the machines froze. One by one, they stopped moving. Then slowly, they turned around. Michael blinked. "What are you doing?" Aya didn't answer. She commanded. Her voice was soft, but filled with power. "You do not belong here. Leave." The drones obeyed. They flew back through the hole in the hull and returned to the enemy ship. Then silence. Michael lowered his blaster, stunned. Aya swayed slightly and collapsed to her knees. He rushed to catch her. "Aya," she looked up, weak but smiling. "I talked to them," she whispered. "They listened. Michael held her close, heart pounding. You didn't just stop them, you controlled them. She nodded faintly. They're machines. I am part of them. But the enemy ship didn't retreat. It prepared a second wave, larger, deadlier. Inside their control room, a commander snarled. So she has matured. Then we'll take her by force. Back on the Raven, alarms flared again. Michael looked down at Aya. Can you do that again? She shook her head. Too tired. If I try now, I might not wake up. Michael's jaw clenched. Then we run. He returned to the control panel and hit emergency warp, something he hadn't used in years. The engines roared. The damaged ship groaned, but it jumped, through a cloud of stars, past broken satellites, into dark space. The enemy lost their trace. For now, Michael slumped in the pilot seat. Behind him, Aya lay resting, her breathing shallow, her body glowing gently. He looked back at her. Not just a miracle, not just special. She was something new. Hope. Far. Behind them, the Royal Lab prepared its final order. The commander spoke coldly. Send the execution class. I want the girl alive, but bring me the human's head. Silence filled the ship after the jump. The Starlight Raven floated in an empty stretch of space hidden inside a dust cloud thick enough to block scanners. The stars outside flickered like old lights. Inside, Aya lay still on the medbay bed. Her skin dimmed to a soft gray glow. Her breathing was slow. Michael sat beside her, hand on her wrist, watching the slow rise and fall of her chest. She used everything to stop them, he whispered. She had saved his life. Again. But now she was breaking. Hours passed. Michael repaired what he could, wiring, the jump core, the defense shields. But the ship wasn't made for war. It had no weapons worth using. No armor strong enough to survive another direct attack. He stared at a cracked screen that showed a simple truth. Another ship was coming. Bigger, faster, deadlier. A red light blinked. Michael tightened his fists. He had nothing left to offer her, except his life. In the medbay, Aya's eyes opened, slowly. She turned her head, saw Michael asleep on the floor beside her bed. Her fingers moved. She touched the edge of the bed. The metal reacted, gently lighting under her palm. She sat up. Pain shot through her chest, but she forced herself to stand. Michael woke with a start. Aya, no, you need to rest. I have rested enough, she said softly. He stood, rushing to her side. You used too much energy. You need time to... Aya looked up at him. There is no more time. Michael's lips pressed into a line. He didn't argue. He just nodded. Aya touched the wall, and the lights of the ship responded, pulsing gently. I can feel it, she said. The ship. Its pain. Its fear. Michael frowned. Ships can't feel fear. She looked at him with glowing silver eyes. They can when I'm inside them. Then the warning alarm screamed. Enemy ship approaching. Distance 4,000 kilometers. Michael jumped into the pilot seat. They found us. Aya moved to the center of the ship, near the energy core. I can try something, she said. But it's dangerous. Michael turned toward her. What do you mean? Aya placed her palm on the core's surface. If I become one with the ship, I can control it like a body. Move it, shield it, even fight with it. Michael looked shaken. What does that do to you? She gave a faint smile. It burns everything I have. No, he said. I won't let you. But she stepped forward and held his face gently. You saved me when I was nothing. Let me be something now. Tears welled in his eyes. You were never nothing, Aya. Never. She nodded. Then believe in me one last time. He couldn't speak. He just held her hand, kissed her knuckles, and whispered, Come back to me. Aya turned. And then she stepped into the heart of the ship. The lights flickered. Panels across the Raven lit up with symbols no one had programmed. The ship's voice changed. Core sync initiated. Aya online. Outside, the enemy vessel launched its drones, hundreds of them, red eyes, cold engines, but before they could reach the Raven, the ship moved, not drifted, not dodged, danced. It spun through the cloud like a living thing, dodging fire, cutting through gaps, reacting before the enemy could aim. Michael watched from the control room as systems he'd never used came to life. Laser nets, EMP bursts, shield waves. Aya was the ship. One drone reached the hull. It fired. Before the blast could land, the panel under it exploded outward, like the ship rejected the attack. Michael stared in disbelief. "She's protecting me." The enemy captain roared on the other side of the battle. "Disable her." "Now!" The enemy vessel fired a massive pulse cannon big enough to break a moon. Michael shouted, "Aya! That'll destroy us!" Inside the core chamber, Aya stood still, arms out, eyes glowing like stars. "I won't let them hurt you," she screamed, not in pain, but in command. The entire ship lit up, white light flooding every surface. The pulse blast hit and shattered. Against the shield, the enemy ship, systems fried, drifted silently. The fight was over. Inside, Michael rushed to the core. "Aya!" He shouted. He found her lying on the floor, pale, still. He dropped beside her, lifted her gently. Her voice was faint. "I protected you," he cried. "You did more than that." She smiled. "Then I am not useless." "No," he whispered. "You're everything." As he held her close, her body pulsed softly again. The ship whispered through the speakers. "Aya, stabilizing." She wasn't gone. Not yet. Michael closed his eyes, a tear falling down his cheek. "You're not a miracle because you saved us," he said. "You're a miracle because you chose to live." The battle was over, but the war wasn't. Aya lay in the medical bay, her silver skin dim and cracked like fading starlight. The ship's systems hummed gently, trying to heal her, but Michael knew she was still weak and getting weaker. Outside, the starlight Raven floated above a ghost planet, dark, silent, and not listed on any maps. But Michael had found something, buried deep in the system logs, left behind by whoever created Aya, was a hidden coordinate, a place called Vault Zero. It wasn't a planet, it was a facility, a lab, the one that made her, and maybe the only place that could save her. Michael stared at the screen. "You deserve to know where you came from." Aya, still lying in bed, opened her eyes slowly. "Will it help me?" "I don't know," he said. "But I think something in there is calling you." Her voice was a whisper. "I'm scared." "So am I," he replied. "But we go together." The Raven entered the planet's orbit. Below, the surface was cold and gray. No life, no sound, but under the surface, machines still moved. As they landed, huge metal doors opened by themselves. No passwords, no scans. Aya had already unlocked it, by existing. They stepped inside. The air was dry. The walls were glowing with strange energy patterns, similar to those that pulsed in Aya's veins. Michael kept a hand on her back as they walked. She didn't speak, but the deeper they went, the stronger she stood. It was like the ground remembered her. Finally, they reached a wide chamber. At the center was a platform and a pod. Inside it, another girl, unconscious. Same skin, same eyes, another bioconduit. Aya walked forward. Her fingers trembled as she touched the glass. "This one was before me," she whispered. Michael looked at the console. "Subject 6, he read out loud. Files loaded automatically. Experiment log. Subject 6. Power unstable. Rejected by core. Placed in stasis. Subject 7. Current status. Activated. Connected. Compatible. Final protocol. Merge successful subject with core. Interface to unlock full memory stream. Warning. Merging may destroy physical form. Michael stepped back. No, no way. You're not merging with anything. You barely survived last time. Aya's eyes locked with his. If I do this, I will know everything. I don't care about answers, he shouted. You're alive. That's all that matters. But she walked to him, gently took his hands. I was made to be nothing, she said. Now I have a choice, and I choose to remember. If there's a way to help others like me, I have to try. Tears welled in Michael's eyes. And if it kills you? Aya smiled softly. Then remember me, not as broken, but as brave. She stepped onto the platform. The room lit up. Wires rose like vines, wrapping around her arms, her legs, her chest. Her body lifted gently into the air. The lights grew brighter. Michael watched, fists clenched, heart pounding. Then, Aya's body exploded into pure light. Not death. Data. She became light itself, flowing into the machine, pouring through its systems, unlocking doors that had been closed for centuries. Screens flashed open. Videos, files, memories. Michael watched them all. He saw Aya's creation, not in tubes, but in crystal wombs, grown for a purpose, to repair ancient machines left by forgotten empires. He saw her creators, aliens now long extinct, argue over whether such beings should be treated like tools or children. He saw how Aya was abandoned, not because she was weak, but because she showed emotion, and that made her dangerous. Then the lights dimmed. Silence. Michael dropped to his knees. Aya. Nothing. Then, suddenly, a soft breeze touched his face. From behind, a light began to pulse again. He turned, and there she was, Aya, whole, alive. Walking toward him, her skin glowed like starlight. Her eyes were brighter, her voice clearer. I found it, she whispered. Michael stood, stunned. Found what? The key, she said. To all the others, there are more like me, lost, sleeping, waiting for someone to wake them. Michael grabbed her, pulled her into his arms. I thought I lost you, she whispered. I found myself. As they walked back to the ship, Aya looked up at the sky. She was no longer afraid of the stars. She was ready to meet them. But across the galaxy, a final command was issued. She has the key. Prepare the fleet. We cannot let her reach the others. The true war was just beginning. The stars shone brighter than ever as the Starlight Raven left the ghost planet behind. Its wings were scarred, engines humming low, but it carried something the galaxy hadn't seen in a long time. Hope. Aya stood near the cockpit window. Her silver skin now shimmered with soft light. The once broken, voiceless girl who sat in a cage was gone. What remained was something new, awake, alive, powerful. Michael watched her carefully from the pilot seat. You haven't said much, he said gently. Aya turned to him, eyes calm and steady. I used to be afraid of silence. Now I understand it. He smiled. How do you feel? She looked back out at the stars. Ready. They had a mission now. Aya had accessed the lost archives of the vault. She found coordinates, 12, hidden across the galaxy, where others like her slept. Forgotten bioconduits placed in stasis labeled as defective. Each one could be a miracle, if only someone would believe in them. Aya had made her choice. She would find them, free them, give them what Michael gave her, a chance. Their first destination was a ruined satellite world near the edge of the Corrales Belt, a frozen place where machines outnumbered life. As they landed, Michael glanced at Aya. This place? There's no signal, no heat. Are you sure anyone is there? Aya nodded. She's sleeping, but I can feel her. They entered an ancient dome, half buried in ice. Metal arms reached from the walls like claws, but Aya walked calmly through them, Where she stepped, the lights turned on. At the center of the dome was a pod, just like the one in the vault. Inside it, a girl, barely breathing, covered in frost. Aya placed her hand on the glass. "She's like I was," she said softly. "Trapped in dreams, told she wasn't worth saving." Michael said nothing. He just watched as Aya closed her eyes, and the pod opened. One by one, they found them, in broken cities, in lost ships drifting for centuries, in prisons built to erase them. Aya freed them all. Some were angry, some cried, some didn't believe they were real, but each one saw her, Aya, the first to rise, and followed. They called themselves the Awakened, but power always brings enemies, and the old kings, the old scientists, the ones who created the bioconduits to control them, they returned. Their fleets burned across the stars, demanding Aya's surrender, demanding the return of their property. Michael read the transmission aloud on the bridge. "You were never meant to lead. Stand down or we erase your kind forever." Aya looked at the screen. Her voice was calm. "We are not yours." The final battle came near a dying red star. The enemy fleet. Over 30 ships, hundreds of drones, advanced weapons. Aya had only the Raven and her people. But she had something the enemy didn't understand. Choice. She stood on the deck of the Raven, surrounded by the others. Each one, glowing faintly, different colors, different strengths. Michael stood beside her. "You ready for this?" he asked. Aya nodded. "They called us trash, mistakes, weak. But today, we show them what a miracle truly is." The battle began. The enemy fired first, but the Awakened didn't run. They merged. Together, their powers formed one giant shield, powered not by rage but by unity. Aya reached into the heart of the Raven, and for the final time she became more. She became the storm. She became the voice of every broken thing that refused to stay silent. Machines bent to her will. Enemy ships lost control. The old fleet crumbled under the strength of something they never counted on: belief. When the dust cleared, the Awakened stood together in the silence of space. Not soldiers, not slaves, but survivors. Free. Back on the Raven, Michael looked at Aya. He had no words, just awe. "You're not just a miracle," he whispered. "You're a movement." Aya looked out the window at her people, now lighting up the stars like a new constellation. She turned to him, eyes filled with quiet strength. "No," she said, "we are." And across the galaxy, a new story began to spread, about the girl no one wanted, the girl who healed wires with her fingers and hearts with her voice, the girl who was once caged, silent and forgotten, but who became the key, the guide, the first spark of a better galaxy, because one human saw her not as a tool, but as a miracle.